Welcome to this episode of Heal Your Past, Master Your Future. My name's Tracy Malone and I'm so grateful you're here to join me on this journey. I really wanted to talk to you today about manifesting. I have spent a lot of time, like probably 20 years, looking at manifesting, especially the last 10 years. I've done so many courses on it. Manifesting money in the last 5 years, I have probably signed up for 3 different courses on that. I've created courses of my own. It's been a huge part of what it is that I thought I was meant to be doing in my life. And what's really interesting about manifesting is that I came to this conclusion, and I'd been thinking about this. I'd been waving in and out of this during most of my life. And it's like, what if there's another plan for me? And what if my manifesting is getting in the way? And that always sat in the back of my mind. So I always tried to allow a little bit of magic in my life. I always tried to think about, how could I surrender in this moment? What if there was more? Show me the way. What I want to say about manifesting is really quite simple. I've tried it. I've done it. I never got to the huge places that I wanted to get to. That would take a lot more time to get there. But what was really interesting was the more I healed my trauma, the less I was attached to manifesting. So it was this really fascinating thing, because as you heal your trauma, what you're doing is you're creating a place of safety within your body. When you're creating a place of safety within your body, what you're also doing is supporting the release of pent up and stuck emotions. So if you think an emotion is a complete circle, it starts at one space and it moves around the circle and it completes itself. Think about having a good cry and not letting yourself stop, actually letting yourself cry it out. Then you've started a cycle, you've released it from your body and like, wow, I feel so much better. Anyone who's done work on releasing anger and you have a really good, scream into a pillow, yell while you're driving your car, and then you're like, wow, where was that in my body? I remember the first time I did this big scream and I was sitting in my car and I was doing it and I was like, oh, wow, that was big. Something just kind of released from my body, and that was that emotion that had been stuck for so many years got to release itself. And it's like, I wonder where you were. And I got out of the car to open the gate. This was many, many years ago. And I felt myself walking differently. And I felt the movement in my hips was more free. And I was like, oh, that's where you were all that time. And so when we can really process our emotions and we're releasing those stuck emotions, those ones that have started their cycle and we were told, don't cry, don't be rude, don't yell, don't be angry around here, all the don'ts, you shouldn't, push it all down, it's not nice to do it in this environment, all of those things, we shoved it down and it got locked in and it didn't complete itself. So that locked emotion, all of the energy of that locked emotion got put into our body and our nervous system. And so when you're healing trauma, you're supporting the release of those emotions. And it's not release even, it is releasing, but it's released by completion. We want to complete those beautiful emotions that started. They started for a very good reason. And if we don't complete them, then part of us stays stuck in the past. And that's a big thing I do in trauma healing. So the more you heal the trauma, the more you create safety in your body, the more you release and allow these emotions to complete their cycle, the more space that is created in your body. Why do we need space in our body? The more safety I have, the more space I have, the more the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has to come through. And this is what's been really interesting, because the more I lean into this way of being, of stopping manifesting and starting surrendering, the more I do one thing. And I'm going to tell you what it is in this podcast. But first of all, I'm going to lay the foundations as to why. What I am doing is letting more of the universe in. I use the word God because I'm reclaiming the word God. God is something that I did not use for most of my life because it was owned, in parentheses, air quotes, by organized religion. And so I use the word God now because I'm taking that word back. And God for me is the same as what the universe is for other people. It is that beautiful, all-encompassing consciousness that is around us. I don't understand it fully, but I do love it a lot. And God is a really great word. For me, it resonates now with me. It didn't for many years, and it does now. So when I use God, please insert your words there. And do not think for a moment that I'm talking about the God that comes in Bibles and organized religions. This one has no boundaries and no conditions. So when I make space in my body, I'm making more room for God. I'm making more room for the magic of life to flow through me. And that's where life gets really cool. And that's where things happen that go beyond what I can ever possibly manifest. And here's why. When you are manifesting, you are creating your reality. You have every right to do that. I am not here to tell you to stop creating your reality. Should you want to, should you not want to? I have a great course on manifesting on my website that will give you the steps as to how to create things in your life. This moment came in my life though, where I was having a massive release of emotion, and it was a big crying episode. And as I was in this really deep place of feeling this enormous amount of pain, emotional pain, and I was like, what is this? It's like, this is old stuff. Just let it keep going. So I did. I allowed it to be there and I let it release. And when I finished that, I sat and I had a conversation with God. Now, I do this myself through just a regular chat like I'm having with you now. I talk out loud to God. I talk to God in my mind, or I journal to God. And I had this conversation where I said, God, you know what? I've had a go at creating my life. I've had 49 years of creating what I think my life should look like. And you know what? I'm really ready to hand it over. I'm ready for you to take the reins. And once I did that, things started to change seriously like magic. It was quite amazing. I was able to make more money in my business in a day than I've made in any business in my lifetime. I have had an opportunity come and find me, and I did nothing other than show up every day and keep doing my work. And somebody found me and said, we want to help you and we want to do this thing with you. And every step of the way, I'm like, well, it can't be real, obviously. It's got to be a bit of a scam or a joke. Every step I take, it is real. Every step I take, it is like, this is an offer that seems too good to be true. And it's an opportunity for me to promote, and it's amazing. And it's going to be groundbreaking for my business, and it's in the process of happening right now. These things keep happening, and all I did was surrendered it to God. So when you think about manifesting, what you're doing is you're going into the future and you're telling the future what it is that you want. And when we look at life from a trauma perspective, being triggered in the current day is a past part of us asking for a need to be met now. So trauma triggers are connecting with our past selves. Our healing of our trauma is about meeting the needs of that past self to build safety in the body. When we're manifesting, we're talking to and connecting with our future self, and we're saying, in the future, this is how I think you should be. This is how I think I should be in the future. This is what I think I should have in the future. So my big question here, along with the next part that I'm going to get into about the warehouses and God, and it's really very cool, and the universe itself, I really stopped and I thought, if I'm spending all of this time, and this is a coaching technique that I learned when I was studying coaching, is to connect with your future self. And I used to connect with my future self as a resource for myself, where I could connect with her and my future self would say, it's okay, you made it, you're good. We're right here, it's okay. If I am now creating my future, and if that future has happened, I'm blocking something really amazing, which I'll get to in a moment. But what I'm also doing is I'm tying myself up in the future to be constantly talking to my past self. So if every day today that I'm thinking about my future, what I'm doing is I'm knocking on the door and tapping on the shoulder of my future self going, hey, I'm back here in the past and I want this now and I want this now and I want this now and create this and have this and do this. So at what moment in my lifetime do I get to be in this moment? That's one of the reasons I stopped manifesting and chose surrender instead. Because if I'm triggered into my trauma and I'm going into the past and I'm manifesting and I'm spending all of my time in the future, then when do I get to be in it right now? When do I get to be in this moment? And the more I heal my trauma and the more I do the technique again that I teach you about surrendering, the more I get to be here in this moment. And this is it. This is where the gold is. Right here, right now. And I found my way to access it. The thing about manifesting as well is that when you're manifesting, you're moving into the future. So you're telling yourself that the present place that you're in right now is not the place that you need to be, that there's somewhere else better. So I was taught that manifesting was like every time you think about what it is that you want, it appears in a warehouse. Think of a big warehouse out there in the universe somewhere. And that warehouse is anything that you want to create in your world. It is there. And your job is to keep the door open and just let those things come to you. And I thought about that. And this was after I'd surrendered to God. And so I opened a conversation with God around that. And I was like, so God, there's warehouse A. We've got warehouse A where I can put anything that I want into the warehouse and I will get it. And my job is to literally leave the door open. And by leaving the door open, that's thinking about it. When you visualize your warehouse, you leave the door open, you allow those things to come into your life. You do all the things. People do affirmations. They do all kinds of things. They write what's in the warehouse every day. They spend a lot of time and a lot of energy focusing towards warehouse A. And so I said to God, it's really interesting. You've got a warehouse B, don't you? And it was like, yeah, I do. And I was like, so, and I actually call it warehouse BG. So it's warehouse big God. That's my own little saying for it. And when I read that, I was like, isn't that really interesting? So if my thoughts and what I want is in warehouse A, I wonder what's in warehouse B. And that's where my thoughts immediately went. And I thought, well, there must be a warehouse B because that's God's warehouse. God's warehouse is not my warehouse. My warehouse is my warehouse, which we'll call warehouse A. And warehouse B is God's warehouse. It's like, I wonder what God has got in store for me behind door B. And it's like every day I get to choose. I either sit here and I think about warehouse A and I keep that door open. I've actually shut that door and I say, God, that's just where my little imaginations go. I want door B. I absolutely want warehouse B and I want to keep door B open. So even if I think about something, I go, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And then I think only if it's in warehouse B, only if God allows it, and I leave that door open. Why do I do this? Here's another visual on why I've chosen to do this. I want you to think about the biggest structure that you can. It can be a building. It can be a mountain. It doesn't matter. Just think about the biggest structure that you possibly can. And even that, when you're thinking about the biggest thing you can possibly think of, even that doesn't compare to the size of the universe, really. So think about that massive, massive structure. And now imagine in your hand is the thinnest point pen that is available on the planet, the tiniest little point there is. And on the biggest structure that you've got in your imagination, imagine yourself putting a little dot in the middle, or anywhere really, of that great structure. That little dot is our human conscious awareness as a single person, or even as a planet, really. Our awareness, our ability to dream up, our ability to dream as big as we can, is as big as that dot. That is what is going into warehouse A. In warehouse B is everything else. The consciousness and the enormity and size of what is possible is every other piece of space on that structure that you've just imagined. That is what is manifesting for you in warehouse B. And your job and my job every day, I wake up in the morning, I open door B warehouse, or I make sure that big roller door is still open. When I'm thinking about things during the day, I just go, don't worry, God, door B, I'm keeping your door open. Your door's the one that matters. This is just a little bit of human thoughts over here. So I'm hoping this really helps you to think about manifesting. And for me, I got to the point where when I think about those two warehouses, what I do is I have a little bit of a laugh at myself and I just think, I can have warehouse A. There is nothing wrong with wanting warehouse A. But if I am manifesting, I myself, from the position that I'm in now, seeing this at the space that I'm in, if I am manifesting and putting things into warehouse A, if I'm keeping warehouse A's door open, then more than likely it's a trauma response of me wanting to control my environment. It's of me not having control when I was a child, therefore I should have control. Every time I also think about door A and putting things behind and in door A, in the warehouse of door A, I am telling myself that I'm not good enough exactly as I am, that life isn't perfect, and that I'm not safe and taken care of in this universe. So there's some pretty big concepts, and it takes a while for them to really get in. Like I said, I've been thinking about this honestly, for about 20 years now. I was going to say 10, but then I realized how old I am. For about 20 years now, I've been thinking about this, going, surrender to the universe, surrender to the universe, surrender to the universe. But I've been trying to manifest and put things in door A. I've been trying to control my environment. And that is my trauma response to do that. So when you're looking at manifesting, when you are really trying to force yourself into, I really want that, I need that, I'm going to take every step towards getting that, really think about where it's coming from. Because if it's honestly, absolutely meant to be yours, it will absolutely come to you. And there's no question about that. And so for me, my job is to keep loving myself, keep all parts of myself safe and happy, be the safe person that I need in the world, and surrender. And have a think about that and let me know what you think about it. If it's like, Tracy, this is complete garbage, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's open that conversation. And if you think, wow, I've never thought about it that way before, let's open that conversation. And if you think, yeah, I've been thinking about it too, and I'm not quite ready yet, let me know. Or maybe you're right there and you're like, yes, I'm with you all the way. So let me know how you go, and know that wherever you're at is absolutely perfect. You do not have to listen to this and go, because somebody said it on a podcast, therefore I have to do it. Please don't. And if I'm not doing that, obviously I'm getting it wrong. That's not true either. You're exactly where you're meant to be right now. You're listening to a podcast because you thought it might be interesting. Take the information or leave it. I say in my Self-Healer Tribe all the time, do not drink the Kool-Aid. This is my learnings. I will back them all up with all the science, with the experience, with everything that I've got, all the evidence I've built over all of these years. Your job is to feel into your body and feel if it feels right for you. That's a lot of feels, isn't it? See if this feels right for you. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, great. But I'm here. So let's open this conversation. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Heal Your Past, Master Your Future. You can find me on all the socials, XO Tracy Malone. I've got a website, tracymalone.co, and I would love to hear from you. Until the next episode, take care. And please know that this world is a better place with you in it.